Welcome to the Mind Shift Show. And today we have an extraordinary treat. One of my favorite people, Mr. Jeffrey Vargas, who will be talking about leadership, the tips on leadership, what's important, and how to connect and get the best out of yourself and maybe even others. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Jeffrey Vargas. Jeffrey, welcome to the Mind Shift Show.
Rocío, thank you so very much for the chance to talk with you, hang out, learn from you. As I've gotten to know you over the last 4 or 5 years, you are a person who has so much content, intellect, and capacity to help others change. So I'm happy to be here and share some thoughts and ideas, strategies and tips on really how you and I and really anybody else can reach the leadership potential, really the leadership gift we've been given, not just for ourselves, but for the folks who we've been trusted alongside us.
And that's exactly it, Jeffrey. I think a lot of the time we don't really take that into consideration. What are my gifts? What do I bring into the world? What are the type of things that are important for me to have conversation around? And I think you were the one who brought it up to me the other day. What's your natural genius that you can bring into the conversation? So let's talk about the natural genius. What is it?
Yeah.
How does it serve me as an individual who's looking to move up the corporate ladder or even in my own business?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think all of us have what we could consider a natural genius. And the frank reality is, not all of us have the same thing, right? I think one of the powers of success is our ability to see deeply within ourselves and then recognize, acknowledge, and own who we are. So I think sometimes, particularly in the Latino community, people are too humble and they'll just say, well, I'm okay at this, but I'm not really, it's not my thing. And the truth of the matter is, an employer wants you to know you. Because at the end of the day, your ability to lead someone else begins with your ability to lead yourself. And so what the whole concept of natural genius, it begins with, for me, it's self-awareness. And I would say an area I feel pretty confident in and think I bring something to the table is presence.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it's only you I'm focusing on.
Yes.
And as a leader, every person on your team should feel, experience, be welcomed into the presence of the concept that you and I are just one unit together, talking about, discussing, solving problems, figuring out the world, but it is just us.
I love that. And I love the fact that employers want to hear that. They want us to bring our natural genius, our magic to talk about ourselves. And you're right, a lot of us, and I know I included for so many years,
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about myself. I almost felt like I was being arrogant,
Yeah.
yet people want to know what you're capable of, right? Are you a great presenter? Is that your gift?
Here we
Are
go.
you
Yes.
somebody that's going to contribute something to the conversation when we need to contribute something to the conversation? It really depends on you. And you're
Yeah.
the only one who knows what you're capable of, right? It's time for us to shine that magic with others.
One of my clients is the United States Military Academy, West Point, and they taught me a great phraseology in this area. And they said one of the things that they teach cadets during their what they call their 48 months of hell, they're going through processes. Sometimes they only have 2 or 3 minutes between one activity and another, is you learn to experience and embrace confident humility.
Oh,
And those two words are not actually opposite. What they've said is, yeah, you could do that job. You could do it probably better than somebody else, but you're humble enough to be present, to listen to someone else. And here's the big kicker, to be open to a thought, idea, suggestion that you did not have that might be better to implement going forward. So, I've taken that advice and work with clients and including myself to say, approach a situation engage a situation with confident humility. You might learn something along the way and be a better leader because of it.
Wow. I didn't think about those two words coming together, right? Confident humility. And I can hear it. I can hear why it's important. And I know even for myself, I feel like I do have that confident humility. And confident humility, from what I'm hearing, it's like it's not about jumping on top of the table and saying, hey, here I am, look at me. It's more like, I got this.
And you can be noticed through the prism of curiosity as well. One of the things that you can do as an effective leader while you're practicing confident humility is tell someone who's author a thought or idea or suggestion, say, hey, tell me a little bit more about that. What was some of the background to it? Give me a little
Mm,
bit more on what the end game looks like. Why is that? Because as people are more psychologically safe, the four areas: psychological safety, inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. They're going to be acting in the contributor safety when you're intentional about having this conversation about, tell me more about it. I like what you said. I want to know more. I want to understand it more. I want to help, maybe season it with respect to how we can implement it. But you're the one with the idea, so go ahead. Shoot, tell me a
mm.
little bit more about it.
And speaking of that, what are some strategies that you'd say are very important? Maybe I know you work with people that are at very high levels and everywhere. I know every time I'm talking with you, I'm like, wow, he's with who? First of all, it's an honor. And I'm excited for you and what you're contributing and bringing out to the world. What are some strategies that people, let's say that I'm looking to level up my game and I'm not quite there yet? What are some strategies I can use to help me?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost is one of the really basic things you want to start off with is practicing the art of self-affirmation. I would encourage you to think about 3 to 5 affirmations that you could say every day to just remind yourself. Sometimes you do it in the mirror, and sometimes you do it in the car. Sometimes you do it in between meetings. There's no right place or right time, though there is lots of time to do it and lots of opportunity to do it. You have got to be your own best friend and cheerleader. Because
Mm,
what happens with so many folks is they're looking externally for someone to validate things that they already know about themselves internally. So
mm,
here's the thing: whether or not somebody is clapping for you, cheering for you, encouraging you, the first whisper should
must be.
come from you to you,
Mm,
form of some sort of self-affirmation, right? I often tell folks all the time too, you got to watch yourself because the other side can creep in. It is so easy for so many people today to have negative self-talk.
mm,
And they can hear something they did okay, but somebody said, hey, here's another area of consideration, way maybe you could improve. They didn't hear about anything, they didn't hear anything positive. They gave up on that, right?
mm, mm,
So all they're hearing is the negative. No, 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 ma'am, no, sir. No. You got to protect your heart, mind, body, and soul from your own internal negative self-talk. And the way that you do that is you pivot toward the affirmation. So, have I made mistakes? Good gracious, plenty. The
I
list
feel
is
like checking off
long.
the list there.
Let me flip the page. I mean, I made tons of mistakes, but I am not a mistake. Difference.
Oh,
Now,
distinctions.
distinction, difference,
Mm,
the engagement with oneself
mm, mm,
is self-reflection and self-analysis and doing a self-inventory is the first position and the most important position of anyone who is looking to be a leader because you have to be able to know yourself. Here's a crazy one: you gotta like yourself.
I think that's fascinating that you said that. Like the self-affirmation. I don't think we take enough time to acknowledge who we are and what we do. And this is so fascinating because as human beings, we're addicted to negativity. Let's just put it out there, right? Something we hear a noise and we hear things, or somebody is coming out and they're like, "Hey, you know what, Rocio? There's there's a negative story, and we're all pay attention to it."
Mhm.
What about paying attention to the positivity? We're already making decisions, anywhere from 35,000 to 40,000 decisions a day. Might
Goodness.
will be making the decision over and over again to affirm, right? We affirm, affirm, affirm until we confirm who we are.
Yes. Ooh, we affirm until we
And
confirm.
we affirm
See,
until we confirm.
here's what I do.
Affirmation
I actually have a
comes,
notebook and I
I,
write stuff down, even
I
when I'm
think
on a
great stuff
podcast. Come on now.
belongs in that notebook right there.
Woo!
That's one of
Rocio,
those.
write that one down.
And
We
that's part of the
affirm until we
MindShift
confirm.
game is like
Yeah,
we affirm, we affirm, we affirm until we confirm, right? Because that program we learn through repetition. We haven't had that program installed, just like imagine, like our computer, we're looking for whatever program it is that we're
yeah.
putting in there. We must put it into ourselves. That's the beauty of human being.
Yeah, and I'd say that right now in the world today, there's so much change and oftentimes what's viewed as chaos
Mhm.
that people are feeling like they're drowning. And the one who's going to save themselves first is their own mind. And, not that there's any pun here, but we are on the Mind Shift Game show. So, it really is how you choose, again, in summary, how you choose to be present with yourself, show up for yourself, do some introspection work, how you choose to engage in curiosity. It is, it really is a mind shift. And when you do that, and by the way, one really other critical point is you don't ask anybody's permission to do this. Mm-mm,
Ooh,
no.
ooh. And I think that's one of the things that I see a lot,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot too. People are like, "Can you just validate me?" I'm not here to validate you. The fact that you're here, you're already enough, right? I'm enough, you're enough, we're all enough.
Mhm.
And I think it's time to really embrace and embody that and speak with ourselves. I remember speaking with myself like a little child. I wanted to instill love. I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what self-love
Mm,
was. I did
mm,
not know that. And I
mm,
remember thinking about that program. What does a child need to hear? What didn't I hear as
mm.
a child that's important for me to hear in order for me to express that, to understand that? Self-care was one of those things as well. It's like the whole part of like, it's okay, it's worth it. Like you are worth it. And I would run around and like, hey, little girl, you're amazing. Right? Whatever it is that I hadn't quite confirmed, I affirmed it until I confirmed it.
Yeah. Great leaders oftentimes do this. They recognize in the moment who you are and not just the content of your contribution. So if you and I, and we will, and we have, and we'll continue to work on a project, being able to see you for the contributor that you are
Mhm.
first, and then what you've contributed second. Because
Yes.
if we're going to create and maintain a psychologically safe workplace, one of my jobs as a leader is to make sure that you know that I care about you. Punto.
Punto. Like that's it.
Then I care about your
Exclamation point.
work, but I care about you. And I'm not afraid to tell you that, right? And even when you're not caring about yourself as much, I'm gonna nudge you to do that. Well, which starts to walk into the self-care area because what I believe is that three things. You got the skill set, you're an adult, and you can do the job.
That's why you're there to begin with. Right. And I think
Right.
that's one of the things, one of the conversations that we don't have enough. We must remember our humanity and acknowledge
Mm,
our own humanity. Even as leaders, I must acknowledge my humanity first
mm.
so that way I can help others acknowledge their own humanity.
And sometimes you're a leader, and here's something we don't talk about often. You're having a bad day. You are not on your
Well, being
A.
human, are you having a human moment?
One could call that, yes.
I've had
You
plenty of those.
yeah, you are not. on your, it's bad. You're not on your A game. And you know what?
It's
So what?
okay.
Because you get to, as a leader, and we've been working with a number of super large organizations, multi-billion dollar organizations, on helping them recognize how leaders can ask for, articulate, and then exercise permission to go, hey, man, I'm right now, my emotions aren't as regulated as they should be. I'm about to snap at you or me or somebody else. And that's not what this project calls for. That's not the kind of leader you want right now. So
Right.
here's what I'm going to do. I'm calling a timeout. And
Mm,
I need 10 or 15 minutes to get myself together to reframe our conversation so that some of the things that I was hearing are not the first things that I hear because
mhm,
I think I'm missing what you're trying to tell me.
mhm,
So would it be, and watch this, this is super powerful. This is like our secret sauce. It's called
mhm,
the power of permission. So we're
mhm,
working together, and I said, Rocio, would it be okay if we just take 10 minutes so I can get myself together?
mhm, mhm. It's almost like I think about like mom and dad or teacher, whoever it was when we were growing up, that was
Yeah.
giving us a timeout. It was really to reconcile whatever was happening
Yeah.
inside of us, to self-regulate.
Yes.
We're simply asking ourselves, right? This is the beauty of being an adult. Like I can affirm myself, I can give myself a timeout because it's needed.
Yeah.
I need to take a moment,
Oh, it's needed. It is so needed. And then
especially in
just like
workplace stress,
you,
right?
yeah, you come back, you're still you are still the same leader, but you're leading differently because of what? Self-awareness and your choice to be present. I have a responsibility as a leader to be fully present with my gifts and fully ready to illuminate your gifts. And when both of those things happen, the synergy and the opportunity for
Yeah.
success is monumental. And people often talks about, well, how come they're a high performing team? Because they're present, they affirm, they trust, they listen, and then they have an expectation of first that I will do my part, and second, a belief that you will do your part. My expectation of self and my belief within you and for you, that creates a capacity, an explosion, if you will, of greater organizational effectiveness and efficiency that you couldn't have identified before that. But laying the groundwork for that, pausing, thinking, being curious, asking permission, and that's all part of the basket of leading well in this year and beyond.
I find that fascinating that to be able to be a high performing team and to have that organizational effectiveness and efficiency, that we must first work on ourselves. It's not about following a process, right? Because you don't get there from a step by step by step. It starts here. It
Yeah,
starts here. It starts with what I'm telling myself. It starts with what I'm confirming to myself. It starts with what I'm thinking, the way that I'm showing up, what I'm doing, my way of being.
yeah. It
That
reminds me of a gentleman, Sean's his name. He's a friend of mine. He uh, to become a senior leader in the federal service, the average age, the top of the level is called a senior executive service, SES. The average age of entry is 55. Sean became an SESer at 34.
Oh wow, like
And
25
everyone
years
did
prior.
that. Lucia, like, oh wow, how? Like his gift, his magic was his ability to listen with presence.
Mm,
Even when people were going off chaotic, whatever the case is, and people would always leave the meeting saying, man, that guy really listens. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of us could be a Sean and listen that way?
mm. Powerful, powerful. We get to listen through a different lens, through
Mhm.
what do they say? The elephant can hear things that
Yeah,
we can't hear. Imagine that. Like
yeah.
actually,
That's the superpower that we don't recognize enough. A workshop we provide is called How to Become a Next Level communicator and listener. And through our research, we found out that only about 2% of Americans, 2% have ever taken an actual workshop on listening. So
Well,
here's what we normally do. We tell people, you got to get better at listening. You got to listen. But we don't practice. Baseball players spend more time practicing against the pitch. Basketball players spend more time taking shots than any of us spend time practicing.
listening skill.
Yeah.
Mm, so important. And I always think about like listening when you're talking about practicing those particular skills.
Mm,
What is it that I haven't heard? What is it that I'm not hearing that the person's not saying,
mhm,
yet the person is wanting to express
mhm.
that isn't quite coming across? Are they angry, right?
Yeah.
Are they happy? Are they confused? Do they not have the information that they need? What is it about that particular person that we
Yeah.
don't quite get just yet beyond the words, right? Is their body language? Am I saying, I always love this one here. Like, I love you, right? And I love you are two very different things.
Indeed.
Same
Indeed.
tonality,
Yeah.
same words, yet they're very different things in
Yeah.
how I'm showing up.
Yeah. Rocio, yeah, this is why you're uh, finding continued success because you're giving people a platform to think about what they could do better and listening as you framed it right then and there. I tell people all the time that numbers and data change the head, but stories change the heart.
Hmm.
So if you are, there's four real types of listeners. And, the very first one is a downloader. And when you hear that, this is research done by an MIT professor. That's the confirmer. That person goes, uh-huh, uh-huh, got it. Yep, uh-huh. So all they're really doing is they're listening to confirm what they think they've already heard. The
Hmm.
challenge with that is they're not listening with their heart. They're not listening with their head. They're listening in a reactive position. And so, one of the things that we get to do when we're really going to focus on the skill of listening as a leader is recognize that we do have to see a person's heart and intent in that as well. Um, Sometimes, when you work with folks who are working for an advocacy organization, you find out that one of the reasons why they're so successful is they're passionate. And the reason why they're passionate is because they or someone in their family experienced what that advocacy organization is all about. Well, they're able to talk with their head and their heart, and
Hmm.
they're able to connect with people in that area. It is not to manipulate. That's not it at all. It is absolutely to communicate,
Hmm.
because you can't. What's the big truth in life? There's only three things you can change, and only two of them are true, right? They say, you can
Hmm.
change yourself, you can change someone else, or you can change a situation. Well, the truth is, you can't change anyone else. They got
Right.
to
You
do it
got
on
to
their
change
own.
yourself. I think it starts and it begins and like it ends with me.
Yeah,
It is all about me. I think that's what it.
right.
Oh, I love it. Jeffrey, give us some tips, as we're coming here to a close. Give us some tips for individuals that they can use this as an ongoing practice. For me, sometimes it's a daily practice or it's a moment by moment practice. What practice would you give
Yeah.
us?
So one of the things, it's going to sound counterintuitive to some folks, but give before you get, offer before you ask. When your name comes up, right? You're going to focus on, this is related, you're going to focus on what is your leadership signature. Everyone has one. So when you walk in the door, what is it that people think about first when they see you? When
Mhm.
you give before you get, when you offer before you ask, it speaks of two things. One, great teammate.
Mm, mm,
Two, finisher,
mm,
right? And so who doesn't want somebody who's a great teammate and gets stuff done? Because if you're giving before you get, if you're offering before you ask, it's because you're going to do what it is that you're requested to do, right?
mm. I
And
love that.
if I give to you, right? If I give to you, you may or may not give back to me. And everybody goes, well, see, that's why I'm not going to do it. Ah, but watch this. You may not give back to me, but there's somebody who's watched our interaction.
Mm,
And they say to themselves, huh, man, I think I want Jeff on my team. And the reason why is because I saw how he interacted as a teammate. He was giving before he got, he was offering before he asked. Now, that doesn't mean you don't ask for stuff,
mhm,
you do, but you position yourself so valuable in the organization because of how you choose to contribute with confident humility, authenticity, with a spirit of kindness and a readiness to serve. When you do that, the content of what you do becomes secondary to the character upon which you do it in, and an
mm.
organization sees you, hears you, values you, promotes you, and pays you.
Oh, I love that. Extraordinary tips. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for bringing those insights of our humanity, our leadership, our taking care of ourselves, of showing, of giving, of being there for others. I think those are all extraordinary tips. I am looking forward to seeing you on another show because I know we're going to do a lot of work together, and I'm really excited about what you're contributing to the conversation and how you're helping us move forward.
Gracias, Rocío, and thank you for having the opportunity and inviting me and others just to share some thoughts and ideas. Keep doing the great work you're doing and changing the lives that you're affecting. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And to our watchers and listeners, I invite you to take 5 minutes and do your practice of doing 3 things. What are the 3 things that you can do? And you already know what it is that those 3 things that are important for you to do in this moment that move you forward. Is it to pick up the phone and have that conversation? Is it to affirm until you confirm? What are those conversations that are important for you to have with yourself? Is it about thinking about what is it that I get to contribute? Because it is a privilege to contribute to others. Is it to offer our support? You already know what it is for you. My invitation is for you to continue to listen to this conversation as you'll hear new things because we're a new person moment by moment. We continue to evolve and we'll hear it in a different way and things will come up that we want to do. So until next time, I look forward to hearing from you. Keep on with your own practice and keep on creating your version of a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life.